I know a lot of people would disagree with me, but I think that a lot of Africans in diaspora are making a costly mistake. Many Africans in diaspora are building houses in Africa while still renting in the country in which they actually reside or they actually live. And in this process, what they're doing is that they are not creating wealth, they're actually destroying their own options. Before you call me crazy, just hear me out. Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Madam Chomzi. I relocated from the UK to Nigeria about 10 months ago. It's going to, I think, 10 or 11 months now. So I've been documenting my journey as in my life here in Nigeria and giving people my own honest opinions and advice. Please, if you've not subscribed to my channel, I'll beg you to subscribe to my channel. Also like and share my videos and click on notification bell so you get notification anytime I upload a new video. Today I would like to talk about something because I've been seeing a lot of, not a lot, a few videos, but I've seen quite a few where people say they buying house abroad, it's not worth it, or it's not, they don't want to buy a house abroad. They'll rather rent and build a house in Africa. And today that's something I want to talk about and share my own honest opinion about it. Now, this is my own opinion. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just giving my own honest opinion, what I think about it. And if it's something that you've been interested in today, just sit back, relax, and hear me out. I want to talk about why I believe that for Africans in diaspora, it would make more sense to, first of all, buy a home or a house in the country in which you reside before building a house in back home here in Africa. Now, please don't misunderstand me. Let me just make it clear. I'm not saying don't build a house in Africa. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't invest in Africa. I'm not saying forget about your roots. But what I'm trying to say is that perhaps we should start thinking carefully about the order in which we do things. Because the goal is not to have one home, or rather to have one property in one country, but the goal is to be able to build enough financial strength and flexibility that you can eventually own more than one home, or rather you have home in both countries. That's the country where you reside and in Africa here. So the goal is to create options. And for those of you that have been like following me, you know that I'm an advocate of you creating options for yourself and for your family. And this is my own personal will I say belief. I do not agree to will I say the mindset of just living abroad or packing your bags and leaving the West or abroad, wherever it is, whether it's Asia or Europe or the America, and selling everything you have, your house or whatever, and coming back home. I don't believe in that. And I've always said that I believe in options. I believe that if you have well, let's say a dual citizenship, or you have a permanent residency somewhere else apart from your home country, I believe that's a privilege, and it puts you in a position where you are, it puts you in a position where you are not stuck if you use it, if you use this opportunity or privilege wisely. So that's my belief. I don't, yes, like for me now, currently we're living in Nigeria. I would say, yeah, I've relocated to Nigeria, but it's not a permanent relocation. I just want to make it clear so that tomorrow, not when you hear that I'm in the UK, oh, she deceived us. Because I know how people, what do they call it, how people act when it comes to social media. People tend to, some people that know, they tend to follow people. You take advice, but you've got to also think about what you want for yourself. So I'm here to just give you my own, the way I do my own thing. So for us now, we're here currently, and I've always mentioned the main reason why we're here. We brought my son here to live here in Nigeria for a few years. You get me? But for me, I would always live in both countries. I've not left UK permanently. So it's going to be UK and Nigeria. Yeah, for now, I would say I'm permanently in Nigeria in the sense that I go to the UK to visit. So, but most times, or rather, we're here permanently for now, or will I say temporarily for now in Nigeria. So, just to make that clear. So, when I say I relocated, it's not that we've sold everything and we've burned bridges and we came to UK, to Nigeria, so that tomorrow somebody will not say, oh, well, that's what Madam Chomsy they did. Your own, your own. So, and if that's what you want to do, it's up to you. But I'm just telling you, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. And I've always said the why. No place is perfect. Anything can happen anywhere that you will have to live. So it's good to have an option to where you can go. So as I said, I've always said you're not God, you know. So for me, this is my own opinion. So today, as I said, I would like to talk about the videos I've seen where people say, like, they make it look like it's not worth having a property abroad. And I do think that they're making a mistake. That's my opinion, as I said. I do think they're making a mistake. Now, you live in a country. It's a different thing if you now renting in some cases is okay. As I've always said, if you're in a place temporarily, if you're in a place 1 year, 2 years, then it's understandable. But if you've moved abroad and you plan to stay there a long time, live there. So you wake up you reside in, let's say, in the UK, the US. You pay your bills there, you work there, your family is there, your children are there, they are born there, and they or rather they moved there, their life, they are settled there. I don't know how it makes sense not to want to have a property in that country first before building a house back in Africa, where, let's say, you're visiting once or twice a year. For me, I don't think it's a wise thing to do. For me, I think the order should be, first of all, instead of renting where you are and paying somebody else's mortgage for those number of years, I would prefer that you try and buy a property wherever the country you reside in before you build in Nigeria. And even if you're planning on relocating later on, I think it makes more sense to buy where you are currently living, and you and your family are residing in. You're going to be there for 20 years, 30. For me, it doesn't make sense. If you don't buy there and you go and start building a house, I'm not saying don't build in Africa, as I said, but I think the priority, the order should be secure your shelter where you currently live. You cannot want to solve a future problem without solving an immediate problem. So for me, buying a home where you currently live solves an immediate problem. The immediate problem is housing. Whether you like it or not, money is already leaving your account. You're already spending money through rent. And so why is it not better that you channel those resources directly to something that you call your own at the end? You understand? Instead of helping whoever you're renting from to pay off their mortgage. Because housing or shelter provides you stability, it provides peace of mind, it provides security, it provides predictability. You understand? So I think that it would be a wise decision to that would be one of the reasons why I would think you should buy your home first in Europe or America or Asia, wherever you are residing, before you think of building a home back in Nigeria. And again, when you buy your property, you're not, that peace of mind it provides you is that it is your own. You have control over it. You don't have to worry about rent increase. You don't have to worry about being evicted, because it's your own home. All you focus on now is the mortgage. Now, obviously, you say, okay, interest rates too. Mortgage can, your mortgage can increase, or rather, your monthly repayments can increase. Yes, and that will bring me to the next thing I want to point out. What I want to point out is that the first home you buy or you build can make it harder for you to, can make it harder or easier for you to have your second home. So I believe that most Africans in diaspora would, their dream would be to have a home in the diaspora and a home back in Africa, whichever part of Africa they are from. So what I want to say is that, or tell you is that your strategy in buying a house or building a house should be one that enables you to create options. So now I'll give you, for instance, since, as I said, this my own advice, that you buy, most people abroad buy, not build your property. First of all, buy or build where you're residing, let's say in Europe or America. Okay, now that first property, what I'm trying to say, the amount of money that you put into that monthly. So what I'm saying is that if you go and let me just break it down. If you go and carry a big mortgage just because that they've done a credit check, and actually you can borrow up to that amount. So let's say someone that goes and you go and take a house that it's, let me compare now. Let me say someone that takes a house that's £300,000 and someone that takes a house that's £600,000. Obviously, I'm just using this as an example. Obviously, both repayments are going to be, what will I call it, different. That you, when they did your check or whatever, that they said you could borrow up to 600 or up to 300,000 pounds does not mean that you go to take the max. You can decide to, okay, take a smaller mortgage. So let's say you go for 200,000, and the reason being that your prepayment in every month would be lesser than if you go to take the max that you can borrow, or they've checked that they're telling you can borrow, you take the max. Because the key to one of the keys to enjoying life is being able to have disposable income. So for me, I would think take a mortgage that you know that no matter what, you can pay it. You understand me? Let's say someone now, I'm just giving this as an example, someone that earns, let's say 4,000 after tax in your account, and you take a mortgage that is just 1,000 every month. Of course, the person can pay. Even if they've increased anything they like, they don't increase. Somehow you can pay. You get me? And that person has much disposable income than if the person was to go and take a mortgage that they're paying like 2,000 on that 4,000. You understand me? So this is why I'm saying this, that because that your disposable income gives you the ability to be able to save and invest in other things. So for instance now, or rather for this, what we're talking about now, is to try as much as you can to reduce your expenses for the month so that you have enough disposable income. There's no point going to go and carry big mortgage that now traps you, in the sense that you become stuck, that after you pay for your mortgage, you cannot do any other thing. You understand? So someone that goes and take a mortgage that maybe they're paying almost half of their salary to on the mortgage, they're going to struggle. Even if they're earning that well, they're going to struggle. So it's just, you're just living to be paying for this. Maybe now you not tell them travel, you cannot travel. Go do anything, you cannot. They can't flex. You get me? It's just they're working to pay for a house. So the point I'm trying to say, try as much as you can to lower that your expenses, which most times I believe in most cases, I would think most people's most expensive thing they pay for would be a house. Try and lower it as much as you can first, the first one you have, so that will give you enough disposable income. Someone that has a disposable income, or a family that has a disposable income of 3,000, and the one that has 1,000, they will not do the same thing. So if you say, okay, I'm saving now, like the other video I said, someone that is saving 3,000, a family that is saving 3,000, 4,000 a month, compared to the one that is saving 1,000, might not be able to achieve something as fast or quickly as the one that is saving 4,000 every month. So that's the point I'm trying to make, that your first property that you decide to buy or build can make it harder for you to get the second one. So in this case, if you got to, let's say you want to build a house in Nigeria, is building a house. Yes, when you finish building, it's your own because you don't have mortgage, but it's also not a cheap venture. So you're building a house, and at the same time you're renting. So because of that, building a house might not, if you're building a house first in Africa, you might not be able to save enough initial deposit or down payment for a house to be able to acquire a mortgage. You understand me? So the aim is to put yourself in a position where you can have property abroad and have in Nigeria. And if you feel like, okay, you want a bigger property abroad, maybe after building your house, you can decide your next one. You sell the one in abroad and maybe move to a bigger property. But I'm saying this for people that think that it doesn't make sense to buy abroad. If you feel that way, maybe the best thing would be just, even if it's 1 bedroom flat, have it. As I said, as Nigerian people will say, in case of incasity. So if you're in that category where you feel, oh, it might not be worth it, why don't you just for option's sake, take a very small property abroad, which if you're someone that really wants to be spending much time in Nigeria, that would be a wise option to do. Because the thing with abroad is that your property, whether you're there or not, you're going to pay tax, council tax. I know in the UK, you will pay council tax. Whether you're there or not, you're going to pay that council tax. So obviously, if you're going to be spending more time in Nigeria, it would be wiser to have something smaller in the country you live, whether US or Europe. But I'm not an advocate of saying, oh, it doesn't make sense having a property in the West where you live, or Asia, whatever, wherever you live. I'm not an advocate of that, because I would always preach, put yourself in a position where you, will I say, you cannot be stuck. If you have to leave, you carry your bag and go. I think that's, for me, flexibility is what I'll look for. Immigrants need flexibility more than most people. Most people born and raised in one country already know where they will spend the rest of their lives. But for immigrants, you don't have that certainty. So you might decide to go back home permanently. You might decide to split time between both countries. You might decide to stay abroad forever. You might also decide to just reside or follow your children wherever they go to. So for an immigrant, because your future is not that predictable, your strategy should be one that focuses on flexibility and options. That should be what you prioritize. So that's my that's how I see it. So I know some people will tell you they know they're not going to they will not want to, or some people, you hear people say that they will not, let's say they will want to come back home finally, as in that's it. Or you hear people tell you they're not coming back home. The truth of the matter is that you might change your mind. You understand? So don't put yourself in a position where, if I change my mind, it's not late for me to go back. Or if I want to go back to abroad for any reason, I can still do that. So put yourself in a place where, wherever you are, you're happy being there at that time. If you're not happy, you can always go, reset, come back again. You get me? For instance, me, I don't see myself living abroad permanently, as in full time in my old age. I'm not going to no care home to go and be doing bingo. It's not something that for me now. No, I can't. I don't see I will not be happy now. As in, it's not something that I'll be happy doing in my old age. I don't. But doesn't mean that I would not want to be going abroad. No. So I'll be spending some time there, going and coming. That's what I see as for myself. I want my future to be like. You understand me? So it's just thinking about it as in what will make you happy, but bearing in mind that you might change your mind. When we're younger abroad, we're not focused on you want to come home or wanted to come. We come home, but it's not like thinking about relocating or all those things. We're not thinking about that thing because you're younger, but after some time when you've lived abroad And I would think that would be, for people that we know, that's the case. You've lived for a long time. I think you get to that point where you now want to start living at home in Nigeria for some time, not just to come on holiday. But for some people, moving permanently, depending on who you are, for me, it might not be possible because it's not just about me. You also have to think about your children. That's another point I would like to make for people that relocate to Africa permanently. Also think about your children. And I don't want to get into it before people get angry. Not everything in the West is bad. You've got to take out all these emotions, or take out the people that everything about Africa is better than everything about the West, or everything about the West is better than everything. I don't get into that mindset because it's nonsense. There's no place that is perfect. So the idea of flexibility or options is that so that you enjoy the best of both worlds. So that's the idea. So you've got to think about if you have younger children, think about it. For instance, I did not do, my son is not coming to Nigeria to do university. No matter how Pan-African or whatever, I'm just being frank with you people. So there's no point trying to, you see people they want to make it look like everything about the West is bad. That's not nonsense. There are things about the West that are very good, and there are things about Africa that is very good. So that's why I say to people that if you have a dual citizenship, it is a privilege and a blessing. So use it wisely. So the point I'm trying to make is that in whatever we're doing, in whether it's relocating or you're making decisions not to cut ties with the West, also think about your children, not just you. As an adult, you've done yours, you decided to go there. And also be truthful to yourself of the things that you've also acquired because you went there. Whether be it education, be it being a better place financially. So you've got to be truthful for yourself. Don't have that mindset of, oh, abroad did not do anything for me. You hear people, that's just nonsense. Yeah, that's just nonsense. We've got to be truthful in our analysis. So think about your children. And that brings me to the next point I'm going to make. When I say think about your children, if you have children, that especially ones that are still young, or when I mean young, let's say primary, secondary, also university, they've not started life. That's what I'm trying to say. They're not yet on their own feet. They're not on their own, if you get me, as in they're still dependent on you. Exactly, that's the word I'm looking for. They're still dependent on you. You've got to think about what you're doing. I do believe that if you have children of a certain age, you're doing them a disadvantage not having a property abroad. That's my opinion. If you are privileged to live abroad, I think one of the things that you can do for your children is to have a property abroad. Your children, whether you relocate here, they might decide they don't want to be here. It's likely they can decide they want to go back. I wouldn't want my child is not going to stay, but I'm just saying, for example, now decide I want to relocate back to Nigeria permanently, or me and my husband. We wouldn't want my child to now when he wants to go back to the UK, then he will now go and starting from scratch one like every other immigrant that went to go apply for visa. No, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense in any way. So when we're making these decisions, we have to think about not just us, but how are we also, the decisions that we are making, how is it going to affect not just us, our children. So we have to consider our children, and I'll explain to you and I'll give you a concrete example so that you understand what I'm saying. So we all know that buying property now in the West is getting more and more difficult for young people to get into the property ladder. So the favor that you can, or rather, you should be able to put your, be a springboard for your children to be able to make it easier for them to buy their own property. So I think this is what we should think about too. Your child can decide to, and I've seen it happen, a friend of mine, your child can stay in your own home instead of going to rent somewhere else, and they're paying so much money that they find it difficult to be able to save for their own down payment to buy their own property. They can live in the house, in your property, and be saving aggressively towards their own property. Now I know some people be like, oh, you're not supposed to, maybe can make them responsible. You know, a child that is not a child that is not responsible, you kick the child out. But you see a child that is responsible, yeah, you can support them in that way. So let's start thinking about it. It's not just, okay, what I will leave for my children as inheritance when I go. Think about how you make their life easier, give them leverage while you're still alive. So like I know a friend of mine, the son, when she's Caucasian, when the son finished secondary school, he wasn't sure of what, he didn't want to go to university. He wasn't sure whether he would go to university or not. And the son, the dad was like, okay, you join me in work. And the boy started working at 18. And he was living with the parents. And the plan was, you're going to save aggressively. In fact, what my friend said to me, the plan was I would want him to save so much that he will buy his house cash. So that's the parents giving the boy making it easier for the boy to acquire property. So making his life easier, making him to be more financially free in the future. And at the point, I remember my friend saying to me, it's like, my son even has more money than me. Because the boy was saving. He wasn't paying any rent. And even if you want your child to pay rent, it's not going to be, maybe pay something towards, because they're in the house. It's not going to be as expensive as when they are renting from someone else, So these are the things that we should think about. You could sell your property whenever you think, okay, I'm done. You could sell that property and give some money to your children to buy their own. And you'll now be coming, if you have children with their head correct, you'll be coming to their place, when you're abroad. So these are the ways that we should look at it. I do think that if you have younger children that are still dependent on you, I don't think it's a wise decision to say you don't want a property abroad. I don't think it's a wise decision. No matter what that property is, how small it is, property is becoming, houses are becoming so expensive, rents are becoming so expensive that no matter how small, whatever you have will go a long way into doing something in the future for your kids. So you want to give your children a better starting point than what you had. So you be a launch pad for them, and I think that's yeah, you're supposed to leave inheritance for your children, but I think creating opportunities for them while you are alive, it's is powerful. So that's my opinion, and I think it should make a lot of sense to a lot of people. Another thing that just came to my mind was I remember I've seen where in videos people talk about by the time you pay for the interest on your mortgage, you're paying double the price of the house. By the time you finish making all the payments and the number of years, you're paying for double the price of the house, and it's not worth it. But that does not make sense, because you're comparing what you're looking at is cost of owning a house, but you're not looking at the cost of not owning a house. That it would make sense if you're saying that if you're not renting, you're living for free wherever you are living, then that would make sense. Because yes, mortgage interest is cost, but also rent is also cost. So the thing is that what you should be thinking is the payments you're making, whether rent or mortgage, which option takes you or to the point where you achieve your long-term goal. Because you hear them, so even maintenance. I saw one, when you buy a home, you don't know how expensive to do maintenance, you don't know. But at the same time, the landlord you're paying rent to, they add all of those things, their mortgage, the interest, you're paying it. You're paying for it. The maintenance, you're also paying. So it doesn't make sense. The comparison will make sense or be realistic if you're comparing to nothing. Like you're not paying anything where you are, but you're paying. So it doesn't make any sense in any way. Yes, mortgage interest, yeah, it's money, but think about it. You're also paying. Your landlord is not going to allow you to stay for free. You're going to pay the mortgage interest too, and on top of that, you're going to pay the profit that he has to make profit, because he's not going to charge you what he's going to charge you, that he takes the money you pay him and he just pays the mortgage with nothing on top. It's a business he's doing, and so he will want profit, and you are the person that's going to make that profit for him. So it's your money that will be the profit. So there's no way that comparing renting and getting a mortgage would make any sense. I'm not saying that renting doesn't make sense in any way. No, but with rent, money would live in your account regardless. But with mortgage, at least what you're paying is gradually building your own ownership in that in the property or the asset. You understand? So it would always make sense to get a mortgage, no matter the interest, instead of renting, unless you're not sure that you want to live in the place. I know renting gives you flexibility, as in you can just move city, or you get me. Without, if you have own your home, it's not that easy to just move, you know. So I understand that aspect, but if you're residing in a place, you're settled there, I think it would make more sense to get your own property or get a mortgage. So that'll be it for today. And as I said, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just giving you my own take to this whole thing. And I do understand some people's situations, they're unique. So just do what you think is best for you and your family. That's all. But what I'm trying to say is that think about it critically, before you make the decision. So, as I said, I believe in options. So I believe true wealth is ability to be able to choose, is flexibility, and I believe that if you are building a house or you've bought a house that puts you in a position where you cannot have money to do other things, I think then what it means is that you've bought a house that's too big for you. You understand? And if you're building a house and it's put you in a financial situation where if something happens you cannot do any other thing, or that's just it, you're stuck, then I think you're also you've tied yourself financially, if you get me. So what I'm trying to say is being able to create options, have that financial strength for flexibility. So that's just my own. And also we have to think about the next generation. It's not just about us. So some things have to be a sacrifice. So that's just it. So, but if you agree with me or you disagree with me, I would like to hear what you think about this in the comment section. So that'll be it for today. Please like my video, share my video. If you've not subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. Thank you guys so much for watching to this point. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.